What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the next iteration in this DaVinci Resolve tutorial. Today I have a very exciting course. We're going to actually get into the handy dandy tracking, okay? 3D tracking and camera tracking. All of that is tracking. You probably wonder, well, why do we need it? You guys know me. I'm going to explain the why. Well, you guys know that you can track things in the color page, right? However, there are many limitations in the color page that I just won't get into right now in this moment, but I will show you guys in this course later on what you can and cannot do in the color page and why you need to use Fusion. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the software and let's go ahead and work with some footage here and start getting the tracking. So let's see what we got here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull in a clip that I have, and I got this clip of me at the carnival grabbing something here from this stand, so you guys will have to deal with me today on the screen. And this is what we got. So we're gonna look at our previous Fusion composition just to kind of recap where we were. So let's go and move our playhead here, and let's go ahead and hit Fusion. And here we can see we have, wow guys, like we've made a lot of progress. If you look at this, we've gotten pretty complex now with our Fusion, right? We've got a video clip, we've got some transform going on and moving it around, and we're putting text on top of it, and then we're actually rendering a shape, a rectangle, and then we're moving that around, and then we're putting that on top of everything else, and then we'll see, you know, what that result is, or you have seen that result. So looks like that clip has been lost in my media, so but I'm sure you guys have it if you guys paid attention to the last course. All right, so let's go ahead and start fresh. So I'm gonna go ahead and clear off that Fusion composition, and we have this clip of me here grabbing something from this stand, and you can see here I am making a payment. All right, so we are going to track something onto let's track something on my weird shaped head, right? Let's go ahead and do that. So let's go over here. We're gonna go into the clip and right click on it. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and open it in the Fusion page. Okay, so now we're here in the Fusion page, and now you guys can see that we have our clip here. Okay, now what we're gonna want to do is we are going to want to open up our effects. And one of the things that we're going to want to do with our effects is look for the 3D tracking stuff. So there are a couple ways you can do this. Actually, when you get really proficient, you are not going to go over here to this tools thing. You're going to start memorizing stuff because you're going to work in here quite a bit, right? You guys are going to get so comfortable with Fusion that you guys are going to be bouncing around, no problem. Trust me, you will. And what I recommend is doing the control space trick. So what I mean by that is if you go back into the software, while we're in here, if you hit control and space, this little selector tool will appear and you can kind of search what you want. So I already know we want tracking, and so you can see the planar tracker here, the camera tracker here, the surface tracker, and the regular tracker. Definitely play around with different one of these. I recommend looking in the manual of each and what their differences are. I won't get into that right now. The surface tracker is actually really fascinating and powerful. If you have like clothing and you want to track like a logo on a surface, like that's kind of a mesh surface, it's really good at doing that. I would say the planar tracker is one of the most important ones, and the camera tracker, the planar tracker can kind of act as a camera tracker as well. But you'll be probably mostly using the planar tracker and the camera tracker the most. But today I'm going to be showing you guys the planar tracker and showing you guys what you can do with it. Okay. So let's go ahead and get this in here. So you guys know our video here is here, and then we're going to feed that into a tracker so we can track what's on this video. So let's go ahead and scroll down to here. Let's do this the old-fashioned way. You see how long this takes? You guys see how, that's why I said this is not the most efficient. So I'm just going to go up here right quick and just type in track, and then here you guys can see it has now appeared. So I'm going to bring that into my Fusion workspace here, and now we have a video coming in and it's video coming out onto the screen right here. Okay, so not tracking anything because we need to plug this into it. So let's go ahead and connect that into here, and then let's send that out to the screen. Okay, so now what do we want to track on this video clip? So now that we have the tracker in our workspace and it's connected, it's now looking at everything in this video clip. Okay, so let me run that back. So now that we have the planar tracker connected to our media in and out, we now are telling the tracker to track anything on this video clip. Okay, so we need to now select what on this video clip though that we want to track. So remember we talked about my big old head, so let's go ahead and do it. So let's go over here to our tracker, click on it, and you'll notice this little tool here that looks almost like the transform node. You guys remember that transform node graphic? We get the kind of the same thing going here. All right, now before we just start doing anything and clicking around, we need to notice and pay attention to where our playhead is. You guys notice that my playhead is like somewhere right over here? All right, so when you're tracking videos, you really need to, I recommend the best practice is to bring it to the point at which you want to start tracking. So for my case, I want to track my head in this whole clip. So I'm going to bring it to the very beginning. Okay. So just keep in mind, you can just click in this little strip and you can drag and move this playhead all around your clip. Okay. So again, like I said, I want to track my head. So that's why I'm bringing it to the beginning. But let's say you only want to track something in the beginning of a certain section. You could totally do that and move, go on from there. But for the sake of this course and training, we're going to track from the beginning. And while we have our clip in the place that we want, you'll notice that my mouse changed when I hover over this. You see that? When I hover over here, and when I hover back over here, and I hover over here. Okay, so what's going on here? So what's going on is if you go over here to our tracker, this is actually a tracking point cursor is what this is. And so there are different types of tracking types, and then there are actually different tracker points. Okay, so you can do regular tracking point, which is this drop down here, or you can do hybrid point area. Okay, now I personally like hybrid point area because you just never know when you need to pivot and you need to do something else with your tracking and you want it to be doing some 3D stuff or whatever. So I like to do hybrid, just a good practice, but sometimes the regular tracker is better. Okay, so now we have our hybrid drop down right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the next one, which is our type, which is perspective. And let's just leave this all as is for now. Okay, I'm going to show you guys what's going to happen. Now we're going to go over here to our video clip and let's just create by clicking and putting these little points on the screen, and let's click around my head here. And make sure you bring it to this point so you get this graphic. You see when I get to this point, it has to close, otherwise it will not work. Okay, guys? So we have this around my head, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit this button over here, which says track to the end. Okay? We're going to track basically from the start of this clip to the end of this clip. That's what that's saying. So we're going to hit that button, and let's see what happens. As you guys can see, it is tracking, it is doing its DaVinci Resolve cool stuff, and it's doing a really good job of staying on my head. Wow, you can even see it rotate. You see how it rotated? It's moving. It's kind of tilting on the same axis as my head tilts and things. So that's why we have these different things over here called perspective and the motion type. Maybe you didn't want it to do all this tilting and all this other stuff, right? Maybe you wanted it to just stay on my head and just stay as it is. So if you wanted that to happen, you would change this to translation and rotation and scale. But as you notice, as things get closer to the screen and further away from the screen, that tracking is going to get bigger and smaller as the object that is tracking is getting closer and farther, right? And then it also rotates as my head rotates, and then also tilts on a 3D axis as my head tilts, right? So you can actually make it so that it just stays in that space, and as my head tilts but it moves, it stays, right? No matter what I do here, it stays. When I move forward, it stays, right? It doesn't get bigger. It may stay the same size. So on and so forth. So that's what this motion type thing is corresponding to. It's corresponding to the types of tracking movement. So the motion types correspond to the types of movement based on the thing that you are tracking. There we go. A lot of less tracking in there. You guys gonna be having dreams about tracking tonight, I promise. All right, so what that means is you have a lot of control on how things are tracked. So let's go ahead and hit play and let's see how good it actually staked on my head. So as you can see, the video clip is playing and it is on my head. You see it's rotating, it's tilting as my head tilts in the same axis. You see it tilts down, you see it rotates, you see it scales as I get closer a little bit to the frame, so on and so forth. So let's say we didn't want any of that, right? Let's say we didn't want it. Let's go ahead and hit this refresh button here. Let's reset everything back to the scratch. Let's move our playhead back to the beginning. And let's go ahead and let's do Translation's a really good one that I like to do, especially for VFX stuff when my clip is already on the right axis that I want. Okay, so we can go ahead and do the same thing. So I change this here to translation. Let's go ahead and change this to hybrid point. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and hit the track to the end. And what we got going on here? Why do we fail? Oh, because I didn't actually pick my head. Hey, so there we go. We learned something new here. So it's failed because they said, hey, there's nothing to track. So we got to actually select my head by clicking on the screen. So track my head. So now you guys are going to see. Boom. Closed it. Now we're going to hit track. And now we're going to go ahead and get a tracking based on the movement. Now you notice that it's not getting bigger, smaller, not tilting. It's not rotating, it's just staying where it is. Just the translation is moving around, right? Just the translation is not getting any bigger or, smaller. It's just shifting around based on my head. And that tracking type is very, very useful. Maybe you only want rotating. Maybe you only want, that's what those different modes are for. And just use them as you need accordingly, because they do help you with specific needs and projects. Okay, so it looks like it tracked my head, so now we can just go ahead and hit play, and bada bing, bada boom. Okay, now you're probably wondering, well, okay, Chris, why do we need to be tracking stuff? What's the point of tracking? Remember I said that you can make things attached to things and make it, what if you have a VFX and you wanted it to come from a person's hand, like a cool blaster beam or something? Well, you want that to be right on that spot as they move, and it blasts right as they move it. You wanted to track where that thing's sourced from. So you have this cool car and you have these cool light beams on it. You want these cool flicker of, overlays on top of the car. You need to track the headlight so that it stays with it. Let's say, for example, you have, this screen and it's like emitting some type of beam or a hologram. Well, you need to track it to that screen as it moves. So this is where tracking comes in. So right now, obviously, we're going to use my head as an example. Funny. And we're going to actually attach something to my head, and it's going to stay with my head. So the easiest thing to do is simply to use text, okay? So before we do that, we need to take this tracking data though and do something with it, okay? So you see right here where it says create a planar transform? We need to go ahead and click on that, and what it does is it creates a new node with this tracking data all in it, okay? So now we can actually get rid of this, all right? And we can actually now track whatever is connected to this. So let's say we want to put some text on here. Let's go ahead and bring in text. And you guys already know the drill. We know we got to merge that on top of here. So let's go ahead and pop that onto here. Let's connect our text. Boom. All right. Now our text is on here, and it's going to say Chris head. All right. Let's make it like orange or yellow or red or something. There we go, like orange, so it really can pop, right? So there we go. Chris's head is right here, and we can see that right here. Okay, it's merged on top of my video. But now remember, we need to be able to track this onto my head. So all we need to do is connect our text into that tracking data that we talked about and connect that into the merge. So we basically just intercepted that and put that here. Okay, and now you'll notice that where this moves, actually we should probably put a transform here so we can actually place this, or actually you can move text without a transform, but we'll put this right here on my head, and there you go. Now watch what happens as I move my head. It's going to take that tracking data we talked about earlier and use it to stick it to my head. And there you guys go. You guys see how it's sticking to my head here? And no matter what I do, it's going to stick there. Okay? So that, my friends, is tracking. That is a core piece to Fusion. That right there is going to give you endless possibilities. You guys can do all kinds of stuff. I can't wait to show you guys a project where I'm utilizing everything that I'm teaching you guys in a single short film that we're making, and you guys can really see how all this kind of comes together to make some really high production films. But just keep in mind that this is kind of complicated, so if you didn't get it, watch this video again. Take your time with it. Notice what I did. Pay attention to what I clicked around, so on and so forth. I try to go as slow as possible. But we're going to do more of this, okay? We're going to do more tracking stuff. I'm going to show you guys some use cases of tracking here in the future and how to make some cool like effects and VFX and stuff like that, okay? All right, guys, so that is going to bring us to an end of this video. That is tracking in a nutshell. There is much more, but we're gonna go ahead and just call this one done for now, as we are going to get into a lot of that with the 3D stuff here in the future. Okay, so I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, a wonderful year, and a wonderful week, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Y'all take care.